we're live.
Josh said
All right.
kid aggro led to delay. Google Drive, come on.
Got everything loading up here. You guys might want to pop in a broadcast
live,
too,
buddy?
just so we're not overlapping. Yep. I am live on this one. Trying to get a link up.
You got the notification. Farquad Squads is live.
Alright, got that set up. Let's see. Alright, did you send me your link?
Not yet.
Alright, send that to you.
Am I in the F40?
It'll auto put you in whatever car you're supposed to be in. You'll be chilling.
Ooh, I need that. Password.
Oh, I got some freezy going while everything loads up.
Waiting for OBS to get my game captured.
Heard.
Oh, fuck, I need the liveries. God damn it. Alt F4. Whoops.
Alright. Do you have Java? You can post a link, right?
I can. I should be able to post a link.
You can,
Alright.
but not if there's no...
No, but I'm saying I'll have you do the announcement.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Alright, Base, I'm moving you to the other one because the broadcast has started.
You got it, Dave?
Yeah. Alright, we got the season finale live, ready to go. I got an announcer bot screaming in my ear. Gotta turn that off. Welcome, Java. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's been quite a while, but I'm excited to be back for this big finale race here at Feldbergring.
Expecting this to be a fun one. We do have a couple of battles here at the end. Nothing too crazy, but a few late points runs, and this is a long double points event. So let me pull everything up real quick. Looks like, oop, gotta get that loaded. The closest one's going to be in the rookie class right now, so we won't get a chance to see that in this, but you'll be laying eyes on that with Base Cannon. And then we'll also have an amateur class, Josh Fulton, the Inferno, Josh Fulton, Nick Cruz, and Brett Anderson all battling for P2. Frank Mena and Seb having a tight battle, and then the pro class for P2 as well. Wibba and Patchy battling for P2 in the expert class. So battles for P2 all around. Looks like we have our season champions at the moment. Obviously, surprises can happen, but I think we know where that's going to end up. And of course, we do have a surprise appearance from Cheddar the Greatest, also known as Jesus.
So it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal race. You know, like you said, you have a couple of these first places pretty much locked in here if everything goes well. But definitely going to be exciting to see how these P2 battles go. It's going to be a very long race tonight and a very difficult track as well. Multiple different tarmac changes and elevation changes can make this track very technical for these no downforce Mazdas.
Yeah, lots of sweeping angles and corners. I think there's like 100 corners throughout this track, so certainly a lot for these guys to try and get a hold of. And I'm curious to see where that all ends up. We are waiting for the rookie stream to go live. That's what you'll be seeing in the bottom right corner of your chat there. But let's lay some eyes on Cheddar the God himself and see what these laps can look like. I'm sorry, you wanted me to try and boost the graphic situation a little bit for you. Give me just a moment here.
If you can. If not, no worries.
Try and hit you with the 720 and see if it costs us.
I'll check the stream out and see.
see how it goes. But we see Cheddar the Greatest currently chasing down, who's that in front of him? The Inferno, I want to say, in the number 7 car. Or sorry, the number 77 car. And you can hear these things really flat out quickly, huh? They are.
Yeah, these super long straights are going to be very taxing on these shorter geared Miatas here. They're reaching that top gear pretty quickly in most of these straights, which is going to really be technical and difficult if these guys aren't able to keep their momentum up through these corners.
Yeah, and we do see the draft is a little bit of an advantage, but it did take Jesus a little bit of time to get all the way through and past the Inferno into Stockborn here. So that draft isn't a law, although they will have one hell of a straightaway to take advantage of it. Only 2 km/h wind right now, so the draft is the only advantage they'll get here in the early practice stages. As Jesus turns into that long straightaway. And we'll get a chance to view the whole track shortly. Long laps today, 2 pit stops. Going to be interesting.
Definitely almost a mini enduro style event. Going to challenge a lot of these drivers and their strategies, as well as their ability to use the pits and do their math correctly. Said we're hoping that most of these drivers have done a full stint with their tires and fuel, just to kind of get a gauge for how this race will look.
Yeah. Now, as someone who's raced here, what are your little tips and tricks that these drivers could probably take into account? Not only did you race here, but you won a 4-hour endurance event, so you know a little something about what this track has hidden in its corners.
I did. I definitely did race this track. It was great fun. In a very different car than the Miata, so my information may not be perfect, but I can say that being able to be agile out of these corners and get up to pace as fast as possible is going to be one of the huge things for these drivers. This track does have a ton of corners, like you mentioned, and being able to be consistent through all of them is going to make those lap times better and better. You're going to see guys lose a lot of time throughout these different sectors with only messing up just one corner. So being as consistent as possible is going to be much better than being fast in one sector and slow in the other. That being said, we have seen some pretty quick sector times already. We're seeing these guys put in 138s right now, in the 130s in that first sector, which is not bad at all, considering it is one of the longer sectors in the racetrack. I guess the final thing I could say is going to be the pit strategy. Pit strategies are huge for any sort of race that requires a pit stop. And if you have your strategy done correctly, you're going to be miles ahead of the competition.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just responding to base cannon at the moment there.
No worries at all.
I basically was just letting him know if he wants to do any interviews for the rookie event, it is going to have to use that highway chat voice channel,
I gotcha.
as that is the only place where he'll be able to see that.
All right, let me actually
Let
check
me
out
see
the
if
other.
Maxian got in.
We do have a shorter practice session today because of a longer qualifying session for this long race here. So these guys only have about 10 more minutes to get their setups perfected before the actual qualifying starts tonight. If I'm correct, qualifying is going to be close to 40 minutes.
Yeah, qualifying is going to be 20. We didn't give him too much time there. 20 and 20 just because we wanted to make sure they had the full 60 minutes without question today. We do see Seb Bellew in the 7-Eleven that we'll grab on for a quick tour. These guys, uh, really, I didn't want to push them too hard, as I know these are long, long laps. So you mess one up, you're going to have to spend a long time getting around anyway. The difference between a 20-minute qual and a 30-minute qual is really only a lap. So really at that point, I'm sure they'll be eager to just get on with the pace.
For sure. With that 20-minute qualifying, these guys really only have 2 or 3 good laps to put in a time. You get your 1 out lap, and if you can get around, for your second lap decent, you only have about 1 or 2 more to really put in a faster time. So these guys really have to be on point through their entire 4-minute lap, it looks like here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a little bit of pressure on these drivers to be consistent and on pace early on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we have someone experiencing technical difficulties. I'm going to let you narrate Seb's attempt at a lap here while I try and get them squared away.
Perfect here. Sounds good. We usually set entering the second sector of this course. This being my favorite corner, actually, right there. That sweeping left-hander up the mountain here. A really great section. Really requires a ton of throttle control in some of the faster cars. I haven't got to drive this track myself in the MX5s, but I can imagine it is a great deal of fun. This sector in general is going to be a super big sector for time gained and time lost, as those uphills really push the cars to their absolute limits. And all these sweeping corners with little to no room for error, as this entire track is covered with those guardrails that you can see. Those are not movable objects. You hit those, and there is no coming back from it. We do see Seb right now in a P2 for best lap at 4:35.9. About a good 8.8 seconds off of Cheese's currently, but he has not been able to put any laps in yet this practice, so we'll give him some time to try and make up that almost 9-second difference on Cheese's. If I am correct, they're not in the same class, so they aren't even battling for that position, but I do know that these drivers are all looking to get in that P1 position tonight. Going to put this.
And it looks like we might have Mo Powers joining us to try and help out with the broadcasting side of things. So that'll at least give us 2 broadcasters for each event rather than forcing you to bounce back and forth. A little relief for you there. You pilot boys, you know, with your random schedules.
Yeah, man, it's part of it, but we get it. We make it work.
I know you're on the same flight he is there. Ooh, and a little wide by Seb Bellew into San Placken. There's too many terms to make up our own names this time around. I think I'm going to have to try and go with the descriptions provided. And we do see that rookie was able to join in to the event on the Feldbergring side of things. Not sure if we have base cannon alive yet. I'm going to look into, or do you want to take a look at that and see if we've got the rookie event started up?
We do. I have just announced that in the announcements here.
Ah, okay, perfect.
I did just add everybody. Hopefully, that'll work just fine.
Do that here.
I think I have the permissions for that. Correct me if I am wrong there.
Yep, it came out, worked out,
Awesome.
and we've got a little picture-in-picture broadcast going. You can kind of scroll how we need to here. I think we'll try and focus a little bit more on the action ahead if we can. All right, got that set up. We are officially underway. Only took us a little bit, but what's a real rookie race without it? Mo Powers, I see you sneaking in there, buddy.
Better late than never, Buggy.
Exactly. So if you guys want, one of you guys can go assist Mr. Base Cannon. And actually, Jawa, considering you have the experience with broadcasting the grid there, do you mind doing that one with him?
I don't at all mind. I'd love to give Mo the stage here on the expert amateur race.
Yeah, and you guys have the main YouTube channel there, so we'll call it nice and tradesies. But I hope everything goes well over in the other one, Jawa, and we'll all get together at the end here and compare our experiences with 4 minutes left of practice.
That sounds good.
Sounds like a plan.
Well, Mo, you've missed out on a few broadcasts, buddy. You've missed out on a little bit of a season. For the greater good, though, as you finally got your pilot's or your commercial license, right?
Yes, sir.
Very nice, very nice. Well, hopefully the teaching begins soon, but tonight the broadcasting career starts. Are you excited?
I am so very excited for this. This looks
Yeah.
like an interesting track too.
Yeah, so this was actually the last endurance event that you were going to help me broadcast. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Um, and so it's a very long one. It's about a 4.5-minute track if you're Jesus, 4-minute 40-second track for everybody else. A lot of time to gain and lose throughout these turns here, and one hell of a straight. I'm guessing you haven't taken a look at that just yet.
Oh my goodness. How long is that straight? A couple miles?
Yeah, I want to say that straight is probably about 30 to 40 seconds of the 4-minute lap, if not longer. It's a good shot, as Seb will get us through. Oh, we also have a few custom advertisements throughout the map today.
Lovely.
So I'll see if you can catch them on your. I know you got a little bit of a lower resolution that you're stuck watching with there, but it's for the greater good.
I'll see if I can eagle eye and spot some things out.
Yeah, yeah.
Lovely
So just to
livery on
catch,
Seb's car here.
yeah, this is going to be Seb Bellu's latest livery, the 711 number 22 MX5 racer, as we go by Stockborn. Just to catch you up on what we've got going on here, Joey, in the event that we're broadcasting today, we've got the amateurs, the pros, and the experts. The student and the rookies are over with base and Java in good hands. Currently in the amateur class, Slay leads with 82 points. Pretty a commanding lead, probably going to be locking up the win as our Season 5 champion. But then in the battle for P2, we've got Brett Anderson with 71, Nick Cruz with 70, our very own Josh Fulton with 67, and the Inferno with 65. So could be anybody's, as this is a dual points race here. 2 pit stops, a lot of strategy coming into play. In the pro class, I Am a Jay has pretty much locked up his Season 5 champion, as Seb Bellew has 77 and Frank Mena has 73, so they'll be battling out for P2. And then over in the expert class, Articulate Fox has locked it down with 80 points, while Patchy has 70 and Wibba has 67 in the battle for P2. And Bot Lando has 56, so not far out of the hunt there, but I don't think today's points are going to be enough, depending on how or whether or not we see an appearance from Osh Garrett.
Right.
Now, as a previous champion, did you win before the final race of the season, or it came down to the wire?
I believe it came down to the wire, but I did have a pretty nice gap where I would have had to come in dead last, and second place would have had to won. So.
I mean, when you get into a position like that, is it comforting enough to where you can let your guard down and just focus on getting some consistent laps in, or you're still pushing for every point at that time?
I want to say you're pushing, as hard as you can, because I mean, once you get on the track, you always want to be fast, but with that competitive edge. But there is the knowing that I did have a little bit of a buffer. I wasn't as aggressive going for overtakes, and putting myself in a bad position where I could get crashed out and lose it all over something that wasn't necessary.
Yeah, so just avoiding those tight-knit battles, or at least not taking the hard dives when you're caught up in them.
Right. And just it's so important to know your other racers and what kind of styles they're driving, and know who to avoid in what corners. But nonetheless, I always tried to race as hard as I could.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you made it all the way through there. You know, which season you missed? This is the second season that we're missing you in. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was season 2, if I recall correctly.
Season 2, we had the Marlboro Mo, and then we had the Golden Marlboro for season 3. Is that
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. We haven't seen anybody don the Marlboro Mo since your time. I did bestow it upon some guys in the EU event earlier today, if you were watching that live stream. So.
Oh no, I missed it. I'll have to catch it. I'll have to watch it to see that thing back on the track. You know, I actually reset up the rig the other day. I've been having a little more time on my hands, so you might be seeing me in the next MX5 season.
Oh, I love to hear it. Love to hear it. Well, let's talk about what we got in front of us. We got overtime slowly coming to an end here. No surprise there. Cheezus, our celebrity racer, not a part of the standings with a 4:27.3. The big surprise, though, Articulate Fox with a 4:30. Now, that is 6 seconds ahead of the next fastest time. This track not being a forgiven one, it's possible that someone just hasn't put up a competitive time yet, but that's a big gap to the rest of the grid so far. Then beyond that, we've got a 4:36 by both Nick Cruz and Rev174, so you got to imagine they were lapping together. And then we also have Seb Bellew, who we're watching now, with a 1:37, currently on track for a 1:35, followed by Frank Mena with a 4:40. Apache jumps to the top of the leaderboard, or sorry, third in the leaderboard with a 4:32. Going to help significantly with his class today. Back down to where we were in 8th position, we see Slave 40 with a 4:41, who has crossed the line. The Inferno crossed the line with a 4:42, just shy of the 41, won't get the improvement, still within the top 10. Then we go to Wibba hanging on by a thread with the 5:16. We know Wibba's capable of significantly faster laps, so we'll see how that one ends, but we still have Fulton and Botlando out on the track. Looks like only Botlando is going to be the one to try and come around as Fulton comes into the pits. Seb Bellew on clear pace to get a hot lap. Let's take a look back with Botlando and see how their quest is going. Botlando is on an out lap at the very least, so certainly going to help. Oh, and Broadcaster's Curse strikes again. Now, you've only been a victim to Broadcaster's Curse, but today you get to bestow it. Does that excite you at all?
A little bit. That was pretty cool. Sorry about Lando, but that was pretty cool.
That does tend to be how it goes, right as we compliment the way everybody is doing. A quick fall or a small, or rather an unmovable wall comes to play. Botlando, though, only needs to beat a 5:16, so does still have the pace to do so. A 1:37 was a great Sector 1. We'll see how much time they lose on this Sector 2 following the collision. I'll come down to this hairpin. That is a late break.
Ooh.
And pays for it through Sandplanking. But still with the semi-decent pace here. I'm trying to take a look. That is a 1:56 for the middle sector, so it looks to be about 6 seconds off the pace on both Sector 1 and 2, putting him around a 4:42 currently. This could be enough. Botlando might be able to squeeze into the top 10 right at the end of practice here, as long as overtime is enough to get through. Or rather, is long enough for him to get through the line.
He really just needs to focus here and not overpush the car. Just get it across the line. It should be good.
And we see a lot of racers avoiding 6th gear here, and rightfully so. That 6th gear does drag you down a bit, so Botlando flooring it through. We don't have a good sense of the delta. We're going to have to find out with everybody else. Does go into 6th going downhill. And gives us one hell of a finish. Botlando boost just barely into 10th position with a 4:43.5 to wrap up today's practice session. Keywords being practice session. So still a full qualifying to go on one hell of a track. Joey, you were wondering as far as some custom advertisements. I'm going to give you a moment here to see if you can see which one might stick out to you there. I know they blend in really well. You know, it's very difficult to tell where we may have altered anything on the billboards. But,
A
you know, we
little
just
bit of
wanted
a
to make
lightning
sure
strike.
all the sponsors got a good, fair display. Oh, that one actually was subtle. Okay, cool. See, sometimes we do subtle.
That was very subtle.
Yeah, that
I
was a
wouldn't
good one.
pick up on
I didn't notice it at first.
that.
And then I just can't. I don't remember what we did on this one. I'm not sure. So,
Yeah, I don't know.
and there's plenty of other fun little Easter eggs, we'll call them, around the track to the point where I don't fully remember where most of them are. I will show you just because I am proud of how this one turned out.
Oh,
Th-
nice.
that's our pride and joy right there.
That is quality right there.
Yep. So we've done something similar for the endurance event, or rather, I have. I still have to finish them up so I can send them out to everybody. But we're gonna have a lot of things of that nature going on. Oh, and a quick fight to get out of the pit here. This is gonna be exciting.
You know, with a track this big, it wouldn't hurt to, sit in the pits for a minute or two.
Yeah, and I'm
yourself
sure
some
that's a
nice vision.
strategy we'll see from a few racers here. Wind speed only going up to 5 kilometers an hour, so a lot of time for these guys to test things out and try and make up. This is the first big test of how everybody can get by together. Still looking pretty clean as we see multiple racers through. Starting to leave a little bit of space. Ooh, as we see one hell of an angle there from Rev 174. Seb Bellew trying to follow behind. And I am going to take a quick second here and let you do some narrating, Joey.
All right, so we're at the Feldbergring. Gonna keep an eye on Jesus tonight. I believe you said he's in a league of his own. Has a little celebrity appearance. Got some very nice liveries out there. It's always nice to see the Canada livery. I believe that's Jay rocking that one, who has been someone I've spent a lot of time on the track with. Very quick individual. But it's a beautiful track. Nice scenery. Looks like the fellas are coasting through here. Not much drama going on. Giving each other some respect on the track. Love to see it.
Sorry, I'll be right back. My wife says hi.
Yeah. Hi, Jess. Oh. Frank Men is a new name. Excited to see what he brings to the race tonight. I know he finished practice with 12. It looks like Josh has not started his qualifying yet. But hopefully he gets in here soon to set his spot on the grid.
Things are looking pretty good, huh? We got some pretty nice wheel-to-wheel action going on in the outlap. I think these guys know that they don't need to make a lot of space for each other anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm excited to see a group go down the long straight, see what kind of see how they work together, see if any bump drafting going on tonight or.
Yeah, I mean, for these guys, the ideal situation would be to get Cheezus and Articulate Fox out in front together for the bump draft based on the current times. Although Patchy is real close behind. Him and Articulate working together could be a force if they leave enough space to Wibba. It looks like Patchy's going to actually let Articulate through. decides his battle is a game of catch-up. Patchy's been known to have the decisive pit strategy, although Seb Bellew has won by taking a single pit on a notoriously two-pit race before. So I'm excited to see that tonight. Apparently, the rumor is a full tank of gas lasts 3.9 laps. So you can squeak it across the line and get one extra lap out. Now, you will have to fuel for an entire less lap, so you'll cut a couple tenths off, but what will you lose crawling your way into the pits?
Yeah, and also kicking it up into sixth gear on this straight might save you some fuel in the long run too.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to how much time it will save you. Speaking of time, no one seems to be working together to try and find that. Looking at the pit here, it doesn't seem like we've got anything. Oops, sorry, saw a collision with myself there into the environment. I'm not entirely positive where I'm going. Might have to keep my foot on the brake today. As it seems our broadcast car might be rolling. Let's take a look.
Might
Nope,
need
it
to throw
seems
a
to have
little.
stopped. We are good there. So anyway, we'll go on a fresh lap here with Nick Cruz as we see the outlaps start to hit the board. Obviously, the outlaps aren't really a good tell of where things are at, although a 442 and a 445 to start from Fox and then Jesus are no laughing matter. Nick Cruz showing some nice restraint as he enters the cobbles. Can he take the first turn clean? He's got a big pack coming up behind him. Takes it a little slower than we've seen most. Let's take a look here at Slay. Takes that wider, speedier approach that we've seen from some of those top guys. I think this is going to be a big make or break turn for a lot of people. You have a lot of speed coming into it. If you can carry it through and hang on, that's a lot of speed down that next section.
Yeah, tough to really get the card slowed down and also hang on to momentum in an efficient way on a downhill braking like that.
Yeah, and we're on with Frank Menace still, so he's going to be holding up the so-called back of the grid. You can take a look at the map there. You actually see a few guys who let the grid get in front of them. So that's going to be Bot Lando, the Inferno, IMJ, Brett Anderson, and Josh Fulton, left with enough time that they've got space to the men behind them. But Fulton and Brett cut it a little bit closer than I personally would have. I will say that much.
Yeah, they must have gotten out of the car and gotten a cheeseburger or something because they weren't present when qualifying got underway.
Yeah, they seem to have lost almost a whole lap in that wait there. Now, I guess with overtime, it's possible it won't make a difference given how long this lap can be. But they must be confident in their setups. They know they have to get 2 laps in order to get 1 attempt. So that's 8 minutes per attempt, roughly, or actually closer to 9 minutes per attempt. A little bit over for most of these guys. So you definitely want it to be one of the first racers out. We'll see with overtime again if they're still able to get the same amount of go-arounds as their compadres here. Let's look at some of the guys going for it, though. We see Cheddar the God 14 seconds ahead of his own Delta here, heading through Tuffle Squartier. 15 seconds up nearly, so that's putting around a 427. We'll let him go by just to take a look at the little gap we've got to, I want to say, Wibba behind. Currently 12 seconds up on their pace, but I think they're still looking for a clean one, so we'll let them continue the search as Articulate Fox heads through Stockborn. 16 seconds up on that 45, so looking to get under the 430 right now. That would certainly be a big push as Patchy is the main competitor, I want to say, as it stands in that class. Wibba known to have some strong breakout performance on these longer events, though.
Yeah, with the double points this week, Patchy definitely has a chance to to either get overtaken by Wibba or potentially, if Articulate Fox doesn't have a great race, he could take that #1 seat.
Yeah, now we do have Patchy barreling down the straightaway here, 16 seconds up on his personal best. So gonna put him right back to that 4:32 we saw during qual. Gonna have to start shaving off more than a few tenths now, as he's only gonna get 2 more goes at this. While we wait for the rest of the grid to come around. Jesus, though, will be putting up the first hot lap of the session in just a moment's time. Again, not a lot of wind to interfere right now, only 5 kilometers an hour, going slight crosswind. These cars are nowhere near aerodynamic enough for that to have a full effect. Jesus puts up a 4:27.3. And we'll see where everybody else starts to land in. Wibba with a 4:32.4. Ken Patchy put up a competing time. A 4:32.2 just slides into third position there. Again, with 4.5 minute plus laps, everyone you put up counts at this stage. So we'll see how that helps him out. Take a look at everybody else coming across the line. We see everybody dropping now into the 40s. Frank Cruz still on the early stages of a lap. Let's check in with Frank Mena, see where he puts up a clean one of 4:40. As we see Josh Fulton actually coming out of the pits. Little temperature change here. Track now up to 30 degrees and the wind 8 kilometers an hour. Still not too much of an effect, other than these tires are going to finally start to get a little more comfortable. We might see some of these times start to creep lower and lower.
Oh, Josh, not happy with that turn. The car looks great, though, I gotta say.
It is definitely looking good. If Josh wants to get 2 more attempts in, he's got to stick with this attempt on the outlap, though. And they've got to be 2 clean ones. So hopefully this is it. He finds the groove, or else he's only going to get 1 shot at it. We'll stick with him for a moment and see if we can give broadcasters luck for once as he heads towards the 90. Takes it much cleaner, a little brush up with the curb, but it is an outlap, so it doesn't need the full speed just yet. Take a look at some of the guys still looking to break into the 30s. It doesn't look like Patchy has the pace through Sector 1. We'll have to make a little magic happen through Sector 2, but plenty of time to do so. Same thing goes for Webber here, now almost a full second back as he heads into Kleiner. A little bit of a rough entrance. Although it seems like it was almost a better line than his first time through. Finds 2 tenths there through the S's and continues this hunt towards the 430s. Rev 174 on an outlap. Bought Lando in the early stages, already almost a second down. Seb Bellew taking a lap to recover, letting Slay go by, who is not on too much of a hot lap himself. Not seeing a lot of positivity in these first couple laps here, Joe.
Yeah, this track has got to be daunting to try to pull out a qualifying lap from. I mean, trying to remember these corners in progression and squeeze as much time out from them has got to be quite the task.
Yeah, we did attempt, I want to say 2 laps or maybe 3 laps in the broadcaster car or the MX5 during the practice weeks. And I think we ended up with about a 4:42. So annihilated would be where we would stand, I think, based on the current pace of the grid. As the Inferno and Nick Cruz are only 10 seconds off that pace with incidents, based on what we've seen.
Yeah, that 427 from Jesus is really impressive.
Yeah, you can definitely see that he's dialed in this track, is very familiar with the ins and outs. I know Jesus was actually part of the endurance event. I want to say Jesus ended up actually winning the lower speed class. Was it TCRs? I can't remember. Maybe GT3s. cannot remember for the life of me now. But Jesus did win the lower class event. Jawa, our other broadcaster over in the rookie and amateur end of things, that did win the, what was it, LMP class?
Oh, nice.
Can't remember exactly which ones we ended up doing. Maybe it was the Audis again. But this is a long straightaway, but it looks like Slay might have a little bit of a drafting opportunity. Certainly starting to catch up to someone in front. I think that's going to be Seb Bellew looking to get their laps going.
Didn't he let Seb through? Or didn't Seb let him through?
I thought Seb did, but something must have happened as he's 6 seconds back on his time, and Seb is definitely the car in front. And with 5 minutes remaining, both these guys have made it across the line to where if they've got enough fuel and they keep it clean, they will get 2 attempts. It's always positive. They just gotta make the most of this one. Does look like we've got a tight grouping going on. Oh, and as I say that, a few guys teleport to pits and separate the pack a bit. But we did have Bob Lando, I want to say Brett Anderson, and Josh Fulton all close together again. Or maybe not Fulton. It was Frank Mena.
Was that an OnlyFans advertisement, Buggy?
We would never do anything so ludicrous on our good Christian Minecraft server. I will find it and show you. Oh, not that one. Hang on.
That was a good one too.
Yeah, we got a lot.
Only Vans.
It's just vans. It's a lot of vans.
We
That
love
was
a good-
created by Jazz Monkey.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, we've got a few of those floating around.
Very nice.
We have fun here.
That's what racing's all about, having some fun.
Exactly. What more can you do? Just taking a look at the live timing to see how many people we've got on purple or green laps right now. It seems like a lot of guys are getting improvements now that the roads have heated up a little bit. These tires starting to come to temp. I think we're going to see some interesting times down at the wire here. This top 10 that you're seeing is not going to necessarily be the top 10 we see overall, as those comfort levels are starting to set in. Seems like we are officially going to have 14 guys on the grid here today and 10 guys over in the rookie and student driver event. Those guys are relatively close together with the exception of Thorn Maddox, currently putting up a 436. Thorn, very familiar with the track as that was Base Cannon's partner for the endurance event here. Definitely makes sense that he's doing well. Now, this is a tough track. I mean, all of this is great fun, and I'm glad we're seeing all these times close together. I cannot wait to see what happens once we get some wheel-to-wheel action going.
Yeah. That turn one is going to be interesting.
Without a doubt. I mean, turn one is going to be tough, and if they make it far enough, just all the way through sector 2, sectors 1 and 2, but the hairpin into the straightaway on its own. We'll see how many cars are still close together at that point, but will be another tight one. Been sticking with Slay for a little bit here, but Slay is on pace to creep towards maybe even the top 8 right now. Believe Slay is one of the ones in that battle for P2, or possibly the one who is currently locked in championship. Let's take a look here. Okay, so Slay is comfortable today, so don't blame him for not pushing too hard, but we do have Brett Anderson, Nick Cruz, Josh Fulton, and the Inferno all trying to compete. The Inferno in a very comfortable spot, even ahead of Slay at the moment, which would be some extra points to close these gaps.
So is fastest lap going to be worth 2 points today?
Fastest lap is only worth 1 point, unfortunately, so
Oh.
won't be the big difference for these guys, but
Right.
still counts for something.
Absolutely. Yeah, between Brett, Nick, Josh, and Inferno, only 6 points separating. It's going to be interesting out there.
And right now, I am taking a look up at their broadcast. It does seem like they're doing pretty good. They've got only two racers left on the grid to complete laps, so they are hitting a comfortable point. We are nearing the end of our session here. 45 seconds to go until overtime. A few guys looking to get through. I think that was a little spin by Slay there that we just separated from. But we see Cheddar the Graded trying to get by in the next 30 seconds based on where they are. I don't know that Cheddar's going to get around. There's no way that this straightaway is only 20 seconds of the lap time. Taking a look, current lap is a 4-minute and 20-second, following a minute in the pits. Okay, so I don't think we're going to see another lap from Cheddar. Let's take a look over at the pit lane, see if there's anybody coming by now. Doesn't seem like it. So the guys who are out are the guys who are out. We will swing to the back of that pack. It's going to be Josh Fulton, who jumped up to P5.
Look at him sneaking up there.
Well, I
He's a
don't
great
know
lap
where
man.
that happened, but a 432 from the man in lime green. Now, he again was in the endurance event, so a little bit of familiarity with the track, but different car, which he seems to have cracked. That 23 car looking good, already gaining a few more tenths, trying to get as comfortably ahead as possible. Now, gaining a position or two helps, but it's not anything crazy as far as the starting grid goes. Separating yourself to the rest of your pack by 5 positions, that's an advantage.
That is a big advantage.
So Fulton out on a lap right now, starting to look like it's got the potential to be a heater. We'll look over to Frank Mena, also on a strong lap, currently almost 3 seconds up on the pace, just finishing up Sector 1 only a few moments ago. So looking pretty good through there. Also taking a look at Slave 40, struggling to gain time at the moment, but a lot of track left to do so. We'll peek in with the Inferno, who's looking across the line with a little bit of an improvement, but doesn't seem like it'll be enough to catch up to Slay in P10. Bounce over to Nick Cruz, who's currently making massive improvements, almost 8 seconds up on his time. That could be enough to crack into the P10 spot and get a little closer to Josh Fulton.
If Josh can beat Brett and Nick, he's got a real good shot at taking P2 in his class.
Absolutely. The big thing is, though, he can't let Nick Cruz stay too far ahead of everybody else. Not that he has too much control over that, but he needs Slay, Brett, or the Inferno to stay in front of Nick. And Brett, frankly. He just needs a strong performance out of the Inferno and Slay.
Yeah.
Without being too strong to hurt himself. But Nick Cruz comes across the line with a 4:35.6 as we are rambling on. We'll swing back over to Frank Mena, who's currently 3.7 seconds up on the time, looking to get into that top 10 spot. Going to need to find another second here in this final hairpin. Can he do something through San Plankin?
Oh, running a little wide.
A little bit wide there. Actually ends up losing a couple tenths on the entrance to the straight. It's going to be real hard to make that back up. At this point, it looks like he might be able to crack into the P11 slot, but I don't think he's got enough to move forward from there. Do you see Josh Fulton had a little bit of a run-in with the wall at that hairpin, so Josh will not be improving on his time at this go around. Does seem like the Stewarts might be giving Nick Cruz another opportunity to go around. I don't think he'll be able to make it all the way through. Oh, as he goes to pits and retires the car himself. Frank struggling to get in front of that Delta here as these cars top out pretty early on through these straights. You see he shifted into 6th much earlier than we've seen a lot of these other cars do.
And that
And
Delta's just looking down.
yeah, it might have cost him. He was looking probably to do something different. And it wasn't enough. Does get him the P11 spot, so moves him a little bit closer, although his battle is with Seb Bellew up in P8. So 2 cars separating them on our starting grid. That's going to be a problem that he will have to make up for. And you can see how wide apart these pit boxes are. So a lot of space. A difference of 5 spots is astronomical for Josh Fulton. So as long as he can hang on. So at this stage, Mo, what are you typically feeling?
Oh man, at this point, I'm just hoping that I can get my timing down right once those lights go out. The last thing you want, especially on on a track like this, is to, you know, pull a penalty and have to worry about, you know, taking a pit lap.
Yeah, absolutely. And this
My
is
hands are
quite a
usually
long
sweating.
pit lane.
Yeah, it certainly is. Certainly is.
Now, it's a little late for this type of conversation, but would you be trying to plan ahead with someone outside of your class, maybe working together at different odds and ends? Maybe someone you know
Absolutely.
who's going to be a class below. You work it out so that when you come out of your pit box, they help each other. Although I think everyone will be
Absolutely.
pitting the same lap, but you get the gist.
Yeah, even just you know, talking to people and getting an idea of how much fuel they're burning as well, and to try to figure out a good pit window. I mean, I don't know how effective undercutting is going to be on this track. We know the tires on these MX5s don't really burn out too quick, so um, it should be interesting. But yeah, I would usually try to you know, slide into someone's DMs and form a little relationship out on the track.
Yeah, now certainly a lot of track to work together on as we see these guys waiting for that overtime session to come to an end. A lot of time to settle in. I think the nerves are going to creep in a little bit more with the amount of time that these guys have to just wait for it, huh?
Yeah.
But we'll take a look at the grid from the back here. Some of these custom liveries. This was actually made by Bo Ellis back in season 2, maybe season 3. Slay, season 4. We've got Nick Cruz rocking the Kunos 29. We got the Kunos 20 or 62 car from Rev 174, and we'll take it from the very, very front just to be safe. Make sure the broadcaster car comes to a complete stop, which it did this time. Oh, it's going to be like in someone's pit box. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think it should be fun.
looks like still shows a massive countdown for this, 300 seconds. I hope the overtime is still set correctly to where everyone will be able to finish the race, but we are committed now. So with 2 minutes to go until the race, we'll take a look. We've got Jesus starting us off, the guest racer, followed by Articulate Fox, Wibba, Josh Fulton, IMJ, Rev 174, Seb Bellew, Bot Lando, Nick Cruz, Frank Mena, Slay 40, The Inferno, and Brett Anderson in the RRR unresponsive. A minute and 45 seconds left to go in our event at Feldbergring. We do have 32-degree track temp, so these guys will get a little bit warmer, a little bit easier to dial in. 6 km/h wind And the big moment is going to come down to the right-hander at the end of the cobbles. We are excited to see how these guys will head through here together. You can see not a lot of space for a 14-car grid, but if anyone's going to be able to handle it, we are hoping it's these guys. In the meantime, we have seen the start of the race over in the rookie and amateur end of things. Thorn Maddox off to a strong lead with Llama, Ricky Richmond, T. Sid, Go Brian, James, Rick Nicholson, Ostrich, and Max Yang not too far behind. Looks like possibly a little bit of contact with Ostrich and Max Yang early on, as both racers are a little bit further away from the rest of the pack. Thorn Maddox with a purple sector 1 by nearly a second is in a tight battle with Llama as they head away from the grid. But with 30 seconds left, you can hear these guys are all settled in. They're tired of waiting, tired of hearing about an event that isn't theirs. And in 20 seconds, we will have the season finale. 5 seasons in the books of Real Rookie Racing. Who will take home the final crowns and the strong battle for the rest of the podium positions, that many of which are still up for grabs. With the lights
lamps are
on,
lit.
we go. And off to a great start here. Doesn't seem like anybody got off to a bad foot. See everybody able to slot in nice and neatly. Actually, a little bit of side-by-side action already going on between IMJ and Revs 174 a little bit further back in the pack. I'm trust these guys to make it through the cobble section relatively cleanly together. The big question is the corner at the end. So we'll try and find a good angle to watch everybody make it through. And so far, it's looking clean. We do see a nice dive there from Nick Cruz, but a little brush up with the wall cost him not 1, but 2 positions, as Slay has the acceleration to go by into this next corner. That pass is not going to come easy, though, as he ends up hitting the curb and won't get through. So a little early there. Slay actually drops back a spot to the Inferno and will be working on a way through himself, trying to keep an eye on all the action. We'll jump forward in just a minute through these final turn or first couple turns. Everybody keeping it clean. Nobody looking for a hard pass attempt, as they know they've got a full hour left to figure this thing out. The Inferno going a little bit wide, going to cause him to fall to the back of the grid. We'll jump up to the front where we've got Cheddar the God holding back the Inferno pretty comfortably. We'll look a little bit further to the rest of the grid, though, where Wibba narrowly leads this strong pack.
Well, I believe Articulate Fox is ahead of him.
Articulate is real close to Jesus, though, so Wibba is starting to fall
Okay.
back a little bit. These guys are 2 seconds away from the battle for P1, creating quite the interesting battle for P2, though. See a little contact with the wall from Brett Anderson, but nothing too bad, as he still stays within a second to the Inferno in front. Going to take a moment as we see some side-by-side action brewing along the grid. Caught quickly, Bot Lando looking for a way past Seb Bellew, and Rev 174 looking for a way past I Am a J in front, but nobody going to find it easily. Oop. Trying to latch back on, but we've got quite a tight-knit grouping here. I was expecting a little bit more carnage, I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm shocked, to be honest. That was a very clean start to the race. These guys are all locked in.
Locked in indeed. We actually see many of them didn't really change too many positions. A few small switches, like Nick Cruz dropping back a position, the Inferno, I believe, or sorry, Slave 40 dropping back a spot, but then gaining it again, still into that P12. We did see in the rookie race, ETD momentarily left the race and rejoined. I'm not sure what happened. Ooh, and quite an interesting spot here for that. That is going to be our first little taste of carnage, as Botlando narrowly avoids it, but not many other races are going to be able to. Slave 40 in a tricky spot. Can he get by? This is a high-speed corner for these slow cars to be trying to get through. Seb Bellew back on the gas as he's going to find himself way down from Frank Mena. Although that pack being so close together, he's actually not as far back as I thought. He's only about a couple seconds away, and Frank's on full defense, as is IMJ. As we see Josh Fulton hammering it into that corner. A little bit of contact there between Rev and Brett Anderson. And Lando having to cut it in short to avoid Seb Bellew going around the outside. Talk about racing. These guys are sending it. We see a lot of action going on out front here between Slay, Josh, and Nick Cruz. Nick Cruz using the side draft to his advantage actually manages to get away a little bit. Slay trying to use the bump draft strategy with Josh, but I don't think either one of them have the clean edge through. Josh with the inside line manages to get a little bit more acceleration past Nick Cruz. Nick did go up to 6th gear, I think, as did Slay.
Look at Josh just pulling away from him.
Yeah, and I think that's that late application of 6th gear. Holding it into 5th as late as possible seems to be the advantage. We see Brett Anderson going into the pit lane, possibly with a drive-through penalty. We'll check in with that in just a moment because we see positions being swapped on the cobblestone section, or just before it. Okay, so mildly better than I thought. But these guys are still going to have to go through a tricky corner together. And they managed to keep it clean once more. So a little bit of separation here. Let's take a look from the top of the grid while we still can. Cheddar the grid in the number 71 car, as expected, way up north. We've got Articulate Fox 2.3 seconds behind, followed by Patchy and Wibba in a tight battle for P3. Then comes the carnage, a big spin out there, and the people avoiding it fall 10 seconds back with IMJ leading that pack. Josh Fulton falling a position behind down into P6, being chased by Frank Mena, Nick Cruz, and Slay. And then we see the remainder of the pack there, the Inferno, Seb Bellew, Lando, and Rev 174. Now, we were going to wait, but unfortunately, it looks like that was a drive-through penalty for Brett Anderson, so he finds himself 30 seconds back on the pack. At this point, he's going to have to try and adopt a different strategy, maybe using that 6th gear that you were talking about to save a little fuel, stretch it out one more lap, and shave a few tenths off the pit stop. Rev 174 going for the inside line on Lando through Rotes. Not going to find the speed through as that outside line is quick. It gives Lando the chance to cut back in for the S's.
This battle between Slay and Cruz is going to be huge for that rookie division or amateur division.
Yeah, I mean, Josh needs Slay to keep Nick Cruz behind. So right now this is going in Josh's favor, but that's not going to be easy. Rev 174 finding that not easy to get past Lando either. It's everybody trying to figure out a way to just pull in and use the draft to their advantage into any corner they can. But at the moment, none of it's enough. Ooh, speaking of enough, though, looks like a small slip-up from Patchy is going to give Wibba a chance. 0.2 seconds away. Big turn here could help, but Patchy's got way more acceleration. Gains nearly a second back to the 48 car. That was a huge turn.
It was.
And speaking of huge, we see Nick Cruz losing a position to Seb Bellew. Although they're not in the same class, that does make it a little bit harder for Nick to get past Slay 40 in front, as he's got a whole other car to get through. Looks like he's trying to find a way by wherever he can. You can hear the Inferno and Lando within a second to this battle. We're going to drop back for just a second to grab them. As we see all 5 cars heading into the hairpin. Ooh, Botlando with a little bit of a slip up causes some carnage there once more. Botlando going to be a little late on the gas. Gives Brett Anderson some hope, though, as he's going to be watching a car get closer and closer on the Delta. We'll take a look up front now as the Inferno, Rev 174, and Botlando have fallen back from this battle for P8. But Nick Cruz not out of the hunt just yet. Question is, does Sleb give him the bump draft or try and get around? He's going to be next to him any second now. It looks like he might be trying to find a way through, and he does. He sneaks through on the inside through Siegfried and works his way through the straight. This is going to be good for Nick, as he'll get an opportunity to catch Slay if he makes a mistake up ahead. 50 minutes remaining, plenty of time to for some action. I'm sure these guys will make something happen.
He's scraping up here.
He is. He had a lot of pace there into Oberreferberg.
Yeah, better than I would have done.
And he looks to make a move through the cobbles, but takes some necessary braking precautions to avoid some contact with Slay, allowing the 3-man battle to go on. You see Brett Anderson now only 23 seconds away from Botlando and 50 minutes to go. So definitely on pace to catch up. Just needs to stay consistent and stay on the track. We want to look away. We want to check in with some of the other racers on the grid. This is the season finale, but this is where the action is right now. These guys are staying incredibly close together.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna be curious to see once they get back on the straight if Slay is gonna, bump trap Seb a little bit to put a little bit of a cushion between him and Cruz.
Yeah, I will say if I'm the number 40 car, that is my plan, or I think the number 4 car. But that would be my play here. I just want to put as much distance between myself and the 29. Again, even with the drops, Slay has this one pretty much in the bag, but he has a chance to make things interesting for the battle behind him.
Absolutely. And that comes back on what we were talking about earlier. Like, you always want to be competitive. You always want to find yourself as high on that grid as possible. Come the checkered flag, so.
Yeah, and now you can see why, as you actually see Frank Mena not too far off in the distance there. And really, if you look around at the whole grid, you can see the Inferno, Rev 174, and a little glimpse of Botlando behind. So everybody's staying relatively close together. Speaking of close together, though, Wibba's going to go for it one more time. The 48 looking for a way past the 4 to take that podium spot. This time, he's the one with the pace through Squartier.
They did have a little bit of contact right before we got over to them, so Wibba's really trying to make a move here.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So he's definitely made a cut to the 1 or 2 sides before. We'll see if he's learned something for it or if he's taking it as sending Patchy a message. This is actually where Patchy started to escape last time around, but a much better exit from Wibba this time. Sees him keeping up the pace with the 3rd position car in front. Actually, I think Slay is the 40 car. This is the number 4 car, obviously, in Patchy, who is looking a little too hard at his mirrors, and it cost him, as the 48 will start to walk away. Patchy, well behind on the acceleration, is starting to lose sight of that little blue dot in front, but 47 minutes remaining, so won't be too nervous just yet.
That is great composure by Wibba, though, not to follow him deep into that turn.
Absolutely. Wibba used it, I think, almost as a switchback opportunity, and one of the better switchbacks we've seen executed here on the rookie racing end of things. We have had 2 drivers disconnect over in the rookie race, ETD and Go Brian, unfortunately. as we see now a grid of 8 racers remaining. Not separated by too much. 21 seconds between first and second. 10 seconds beyond that, then 8, 4, 17, 9, and 5. So about a sector between first to last, but only really a few miles between second and eighth. So anything can still happen there. Only a mistake really separating them. Trying to show some love to both classes as there are a lot of points on the line here still today. I am curious to see when the pits are going to start to roll in. Will it be right at that 40-minute mark? We did hear that it's 3.9 laps is typically the fuel usage, but I guess it's going to be 4 that everybody's going to stretch this to. Unless it was 4.9 laps and I misremembered. As a few bad corners has just turned this into a 3-way battle for P10. Nick Cruz now has the Inferno directly behind him. The Inferno also looking to grab a few points if he can, at least to sneak into a podium spot, if not more.
Boy, really put a nice cushion in between him and Cruz too.
Yeah, and actually, just speaking of that amateur class, we see Josh Fulton only a second away from IMJ in the pro class, and really hanging on to that pace. Ooh, as we see Rev 174 get in front of the Inferno. Rev looking for a way by, also going to be in that class, so that's a dangerous spot to lose. The Inferno's going to want to get in front if he can. Rev looking to take a few more names off the leaderboard. Josh wouldn't be upset if Rev gets in front of Nick Cruz here. But I don't think he wants the Inferno in front either.
No, he's only got 2 points on the Inferno.
We do see a quick change of position there. Seb Bellew making a move past Frank Mena. Frank Mena seems to be a little off the pace here, so probably a spin or a light brush up with a wall is going to turn this into a proper battle, as Slave 40 looking to capitalize on the opportunity if they can. We do see Wibba conceding the position back to the number 4 car. Not sure where that came, but now finds himself a second away in the battle for P3. Josh Fulton only 3/10 off of Jay in P5. We're going to glance over through Squartier and see if he can make something happen. We do know there's a high-speed right-hander coming up where we've seen a big pass and big acceleration come before. Can Fulton make something happen here? The number 23 car breathing down the neck of the number 23 car. This is going to be exciting.
23 on 23 violence.
And it looks like Jay is going to get the better acceleration through there, so we'll let Fulton regain his composure and line up another passing opportunity. Now finding himself a second off the pace there. The Inferno, though, looking for a way past Rev 174, trying to get the position back, and does not stay with the move. Ends up costing himself about a second and 2/10 based on the delta there. So another one that will have to reline up their opportunity. We'll switch over to Rev 174 though, as Botlando, our first one to pull into the pits. So maybe it is 4.9. Oh no, Botlando I think teleports to pits.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate there. Botlando teleporting to pits and looks like disconnecting from the race. Not entirely sure what we missed, but they did seem to be having a strong race. Must have been a big crash opportunity or just a misclick of a button, as we've seen people accidentally hit that one before. Seen it happen to Osh Garrett, one of our GT3 Season 5 champions. Frank Mena going for the bump draft with Slay there. Neither one in the same class, so could just be to try and give each other breathing space as we see everybody going for one more lap.
Wow.
Ooh,
Wow.
and the bump draft goes wrong as Slay ends up in a wall. This is going to be huge for the battle between the amateurs.
Oh, and Slay parks it on the apex there.
He does,
Oh,
and that's going to cost Nick Cruz as the Inferno gets by. So a little bit of a incidental brake check, we'll call it, ends up shaking things up pretty good. Slay now finding himself in the lead with Rev 174, the Inferno, and Nick Cruz chasing from behind. A tough spot to be in for the 29 car after a few laps comfortably up front. But he made this climb before. He can make it again. The Inferno giving him the opportunity for the first pass.
Oh,
And he gets a little too eager.
Now, Buggy, what is the damage settings for this race tonight?
So we were feeling generous. So today the damage is only set to 20%. We didn't really want to risk anything severe. Wanted to give these guys the best opportunity to stay on the track. Speaking of stay on the track, Slay pulls back to make sure the wheel-to-wheel action doesn't go south, but it looks like that's not the case for these two, the 29 car and the man from Maryland, taking each other out. Or sorry, the Inferno representing the Maryland race, taking each other out. Seems Nick Cruz is, I think he's feeling at fault for that. We didn't really catch enough of it for me to say who initiated, but he lets the Inferno get on the pace. They've got 12 seconds to climb.
It's a skinny track. There's not much room on the aprons. It's tough to make a real pass here without getting a little door-to-door action, without brushing handles, as they say.
Now they do have 5 seconds, or sorry, they do have 40 minutes left to go. That is only a third of the race so far. You can see these gaps are fluctuating, so a lot of opportunities still to go. Our man Josh Fulton still holding down at P6 pretty consistently, but Seb Bellew seems to be on a mission, putting a personal best sector 1 in. We'll see if he can find that time that the men in front are doing. From Josh Fulton up, everybody's about 130, barring I Am and J with a 131.9. And then we've got a 134 and up from the remainder of the grid. So you can see where that separation from P6 to P7 is. A few bits and bops on the track, really costing time.
And we have Jesus banging out qualifying pace laps, which is always great to see.
Oh yeah, with a 4:27.5. He did have a purple sector 1 this time around and orange sector 2. I'm not sure if that's really going to cost him or not, although Wiba goes onto the grass to cost a little bit of acceleration in that battle for P3. We do see Jesus head into the pit. The whole grid is, in theory, going to end up hitting on the same lap, as there's not a good way to make it all the way around beyond that. So no one's really going to end up with any type of a pit advantage unless they go through the pits incorrectly. I do see Jesus is out, Articulate Fox is out as the remainder of the grid comes in. Hopefully our broadcaster's car is not parked in somebody's pit box, as it seems to have rolled up slightly. We do see Patchy overshoots his box, ends up having a reverse. Josh Fulton overshoots as well, ends up having a reverse. We'll see if that costs them any positions. Patchy will be the first one out. And who is that right behind? Is that going to be I Am a J? Wibba with an extra long pit stop there. I'm not sure what happened, but Wibba ends up way far behind, as does Patchy at the end of this first pit stop. I wonder if these guys changed tires or something.
I'm not sure. Did Wibba miss his box, you think?
Possibly. Something was definitely odd there between the other guys, as we see Wibba dropping down to P6, Josh Fulton picking up a second in the pits, and Patchy dropping back to the point where IMJ is in striking distance. Slay 40 seems to have a shot at Rev 174 now, as Frank Mena, Nick Cruz, and the Inferno all left the pits together. I think this first pit stop has definitely separated some things here. I'm not sure if there's a randomization factor to the pit crew, but some people definitely did not have as fast a time as I'm sure they would have liked. Now, one difference could be people accounting for the fact they still had 0.9 laps in the tank. We did seem to turn away just a little too soon as Rev 174 spun out, giving Slay 40 the chance to go by. But we're trying to keep our eyes now on the battle for P3. IMJ managed to get past Patchy. Patchy seems thrown off by the fact that he is a little further back from the rest of the grid here. Now, we do know that Patchy overshot their box, so that's definitely what cost him. Wibba right back on the hunt now, only 2 seconds away.
Josh making a move that sticks. He's looking really strong out here on the track today.
He is. That 23 car is looking good. He's literally in another league as he battles with guys in the expert and pro class. Comfortably a few spots ahead of the remainder of his. Unfortunately, those spots don't help as much. But Nick Cruz, the Inferno, and Brett Anderson, his biggest competitors, are towards the back of the grid, so he'll be feeling a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I did give Josh some words of endearment before the race, so I'm wondering if he's lit a fire under his ass to go get that race win.
Very nice, very nice. Well, whatever you did definitely seems to have inspired. Ooh, as Patchy, pushing a little too hard to try and cut to that inside, finds himself separated, and we have a bit of a breather for all the cars. Nothing too comfortable, as people still looking for passing opportunities. Actually, speaking of looking for passing opportunities, Josh Fulton again looking for a move on the Canadian man in front. The 223 cars looking for their show of dominance. Jay knows that this isn't his battle. He's going to let up and let Fulton go through. Jay has locked in. Jay and Fulton actually have both. Well, sorry, Jay's locked in his position, doesn't have any competition in this direct pack here. Fulton doesn't have any competition in this direct pack, but Wibba and Patchy do. 67 to 70 points currently, the difference between these two cars. Wibba looking to pick up 3 points if they can, which a fastest lap in this current positioning would be enough, but Articulate Fox is currently holding that with a 429. So, yeah, Wibba's got to find another second over the course of the next 32 minutes here. Not impossible, but going to be tough to do.
Especially while having people breathing down your neck. You know, you have to play a little defensive sometimes. That's going to lose you time on the track.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, we do see Rev 174 looking for a way up to Slay in front. We'll see if he can make something happen. Only 0.9 seconds separating them. He won't get the move on the straight, so let's take a peek here and see how Fulton holds off the Canadian man through the cobblestones.
That was a great...
And gained some time through there, so that's definitely good for him. We see the remainder of the guys in that battle for P3 going through, and then here is your gap to no man's land, also known as Seb Bellew, working his way down the cobblestone stretch now, 17 seconds separating him and Patchy. He needs to catch all the way up to I Am a J in P4. We then see Slay 40 and Rev 174 fighting it out in a battle for P8. This one is for points, as those two guys are in the same class. So every single position certainly helps and hurts them. Then barreling down not too far behind Frank Mena, trying to make up 16 seconds over the course of the next 30 minutes. And the big battle to watch, Nick Cruz and the Inferno. These guys have been staying side by side for the last 15 minutes or so. I will also show a little bit of love to the man in the back there, Brett Anderson, off to a little bit of a struggle in the race. I think he had a drive-through penalty that he's still trying to come back from. Gets hit with Broadcaster's Curse almost immediately. Does a decent job at recovering it, but then I started complimenting it, and Broadcaster's Curse hits again, but then we are away and off back to the races. Brett Anderson, the man who will not give up, powering through Feldbergring and swinging back on the hunt. Now needs to make up 32 seconds, but has 30 minutes to do so. That is a pace he can certainly find. He just needs to pull up some of those 432s that I believe he is capable of. Swing back to the Inferno, 37 in Wellsburg. Still trying to find a way past Nick Cruz in front.
Well, Nick goes a little deep into that one.
Yeah, and this would certainly help the overall battle.
This is a really tough section to make a move through. I feel like Inferno would be better off just keeping his front of his car as close to Cruz's bumper as possible, and when they come out a little bit past the S's, I know there's a decent corner that he could make something stick.
Yeah, the Squartier is one of those fast right-handers that he can definitely make a move through. But for now, he just needs to stay within striking distance. Speaking of, we've got that full pack here from Fulton back to Patchy, going through Stockborn, which is actually the corner I had in mind. And they aren't making any advances on each other, but they're all staying close together, just waiting for small slip-ups, which no one seems to deliver just yet. Although
Josh
Jay
gained another 0.5 on Jay.
I was going to say, Jay's still struggling with that turn, though. Stockborn, not his friend tonight, as Wibba able to close the gap a little bit through there. But Jay with the advantage through Sand Plankin. Few cars in no man's land tonight, but overall doing okay. Certainly expecting these guys to have a few more issues, but keeping things clean is the name of the game for them today. Do see over in the rookie race, we've got a battle going on between Ricky Richmond and Ostrich, as they are separated by only a second heading into the end of the first sector. So those guys in a good battle, not in the same class, but at least some fun competition going on the live broadcast. Do see Patchy powering through, starting to make a little bit of waves there. We did see that Delta drop down for just a moment into the 1.7s. Wibba, though, making a little bit more progress towards Jay in front. Mo, I'm going to turn it over to the auto cam and let you take over for a second here.
Sounds good, Buggy. Beautiful shot from the inside of Wibba's car here. Really immersifies you what these drivers are up against tonight on the track. Now it looks like Wibba is making a bit of a move here on Jay, as we can see here now. He cuts into the inside, but he doesn't have the speed to overtake, so... Oh, he's going for it again. Can he make it stick? It's going to be a tough... Nice. There's another position change for you. Josh losing a little bit of time to the pack behind him. Got a 1.3 lead here. But nonetheless, a very strong race out of him. I know he definitely wants to try to get up on that podium in the overall results. But looks like everyone else has really cemented their place. You got some big gaps between 7th and 10th. And but there is 25 minutes left, so definitely some room for a mistake and some mixing up down there in the bottom half of the grid. And Wibba overtakes Josh. He's looking very good right now. I wonder what type of mental change he made to start pulling out these laps. That's 2 overtakes in a very short time. And it is nice to see 4 cars battling it out through 35 minutes of a race. Excited to see how this one ends between the 4 of them. Now, I've spent a decent amount of time on the track against Jay. He is a very strong racer. So, just based off that, I know these guys have some really good pace going on between the 4 of them. Love the shot.
Man, I missed some action.
Yeah, Wibba making 2 overtakes back to back on Jay and Josh. Looks like Josh is holding on as best he can, and Patchy's looking to get by Jay.
Yeah, we did see a 130.2 out of Wibba at one point there, and a 132.1 on the last lap. Jay losing position by position because he knows this is not his fight. Gonna probably go for the bump draft here, knowing him. He is. So he'll try and get Patchy up because he knows Patchy's still fighting with Wibba. So that's some good awareness there from the Canadian 23 car. We'll check in with the American number 23, currently doing a little bump drafting game of his own with the 48. I think he knows what game's going on behind him, and he's looking for a way by. I think he wants to keep things interesting as well. 23 minutes remaining. We're definitely getting close to pit stop number 2. Probably only 2 more laps to go till we see the first couple cars start to come in. This is where I think you could get away with doing some sort of undercut strategy. You'd have to go for it here where you know you can get the last 5 laps out of the car. It would be a little bit of a dangerous one.
Oh, Josh goes a little bit wide and catches some grass there.
He does, and that's going to be a huge advantage to Patchy behind. Patchy going to look for a way through. Knows it's too tight of a section to really take any advantage. So he'll go easy on the brakes, and all of them will now be on the hunt to the 48 car sitting comfortably in P3 with a 2-second gap. We'll do our quick around the grid. Oh, as Nick Cruz must have had an incident. As Nick Cruz, we're going to take a look over at the board here. Nick Cruz, I think, might be going for that undercut we talked about. So Artie's gone into the pits. We'll see how that plays out for them. Might have been a little early. I would have gone for 1 more lap, but we'll see what happens here. Brett Anderson now on some hot laps, currently up at a 4:35 pace. So that's definitely starting to chip away at the Inferno and Frank Mena in front if they can continue this pace. Checking in over to the Inferno now, looking pretty comfortable, fresh off of a 4:41, so not their best lap, but at least some consistent ones. Frank Mena looking to close the gap to Seb Bellew up in P7. It's got a long way to climb and only 21 minutes to do so. Going to have to buckle down, put in some qualifying laps, jump over to the Kuno 62 car of Rev 174. Looking to catch up to Slay, but doesn't seem to have the opportunity. But speaking of opportunities, Patchy looking for one on the American 23 car of Josh Fulton. You see IMJ lingering behind. These guys still trying to find a way to Wibba in front. Josh actually breaks the draft for a second, and that might have been enough to keep Patchy away from going for a dive into Kleiner Feldberg. And I do hear Jay just off to the corner here, but just out of striking reach. So we'll see if he can get a little bit closer over these next couple turns. Bounce back over to his point of view as he's got a front row seat to the action. But Patchy's going for it, so we got to stay close. Apologies to the Canadian 23. So Squartier isn't necessarily Patchy's strongest one, but he does carry a ton of speed through it consistently. It's this next one, Stockborn, where we've seen him make up a ton of time on Jay, ton of time on Wibba, and we'll see now he can use it as a passing opportunity on Fulton. Already see him thinking about lining up to that inside.
Oh, Josh catches a little bit of wall, but not bad at all.
Now it's going to lead us into some side-by-side action. Patchy just narrowly getting ahead, but it'll come down to a battle of the brakes as both racers. This is going to be a hairpin. It'll be a tight one to go on the inside. They might go for a switchback opportunity here, which Patchy looks for.
Oh, that is unfortunate for Josh. He's got to get around as quick as he can. It's about 40 seconds, I guess, to Slay.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate, though.
He's got a ton of time there. He'll be okay. 20 seconds still to the man behind, but he does lose out on that battle that I know he was keen to stick with. P6, though, only a single position down from where he started. 7 seconds to the men in front and 18 minutes to go. With the pace he was putting up, it still is possible, as his fastest lap is a 4:30. He's just got to get back to it, as these guys are going to be busy battling each other a little bit. We see nobody has gone for that undercut strategy as of yet. And it won't be anybody in the tops. Oh, actually, it'll be Wibba. Wibba's going for the undercut strategy, so we'll be able to see how that plays out among the top guys here. Patchy goes a little bit too wide, I think, watching the mirrors. It gives Jay the move through. These guys not fighting each other, but, you know, still wants to stay in front. Josh Fulton going to take the cue from Wibba, as is Seb Bellew. We see a few guys going for this potential undercut strategy, so definitely we'll be able to get a good look at how this all plays out for them. Slay 40, though, not one of our racers who's going to take that undercut. Going to try and use this open space as a chance to get through with some speed. Although Wibba only...
another slow pit?
How long was that one?
Well, Josh went in after him, didn't he?
He did. Oh, yeah, and Josh ends up 3.7. So I'm not sure, maybe Wibba is changing the tires at each of these pit stops, or something is going on there. We'll have to check in with Wibba afterwards and see what exactly was going on. Hopefully the answer is not broadcast car in my pit box.
I really hope not. Well, that's going to make things interesting once I'm excited to see where Jay and Patchy come out after their pit.
I am as well. Sorry, my silence comes from my internal horror that is what happened, but we'll burn that bridge when we get there. Wild shit. From the back of the grid, Nick Cruz in the Kudos 29 car, looking magnificent there. Already half a second up on his time, heading in towards the cobblestones. We'll stick with him through one of the toughest corners of the track, the tight left-hander out of Oberfreiberg.
Oberfeinberg.
As he continues to find some more speed on his hunt to Brett Anderson in front. Nick Cruz was one of the original undercut strategies, so we are still waiting to see how that one plays out for him, as well as whether or not he's got enough gas to make it all the way around. Brett Anderson a little bit off his pace on this lap, that pace being a 4:33, so nothing to sneeze at if he can get back to it. Currently only a few seconds away from the pace of the guys in front. That could certainly help him out in the long run. We're going to jump up to Rev 174, trying to catch up to the Inferno in the 77 car ahead. A couple of incidents, I'd imagine. Looking at, or actually it's going to be Rev coming out of the pits as opposed to the Inferno staying out for one more. So if he's not able to get by, he might. Frank Mena and Seb Bellew having that wheel-to-wheel battle that we were hoping for, except for Seb has already done his pit stop, so Frank is going to have to go in at some point. Frank's going to want to get ahead, at least to get whatever time he can. Slow Seb up a little bit. Seb trying to stay in front to the best of his ability down this straightaway and protect that inside line. Doesn't seem like the 61 car is going to get their opportunity through Scortier, but they are lining it up for some strong acceleration, hoping to get back on the pace through there. But we're going to jump away for just a moment as Patchy looking for a way past I Am a J, or actually that's I Am a J looking for a way past Patchy. Neither one has taken their pit, and I'll imagine they're both going to go in shortly. So with how close they are together, this will come down to who comes out of the pits first. Rev 174 is going to look for his move on the Inferno in just a minute here. Hopefully we'll be able to see it. Jay already slowing down.
Oh, yeah.
Catches up a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is going to be interesting. Rev 174 is going to get by the Inferno as the Inferno goes to the pits. But we'll see who comes out first between Patchy and Jay. Patchy with a real quick pit stop. Jay not too far behind and at the end of the box, so he'll be able to get right back on the gas. Seems like Patchy's was a little bit quicker, though, once again. Yeah. Patchy's got to take his crew out for drinks after this one.
Called up the Red Bull boys, I guess.
Absolutely. Rev 174 looking for a way past on the straightaway. Again, the Inferno is going to have to pit, so Rev will be able to get by cleanly. They just have to survive this long stretch together. And together, they take it. Little brush up with the dirt is going to give a little more acceleration to the 62 car, but the 77 will slot right in for the draft. Oh, I thought he was going to go for a bump draft in a dangerous spot, but knows he has to get into the pits. Gets in with some speed. That is a way to enter the pits. He's going to be quick to his box. Might actually make up a little bit of time compared to some of the other entrances we've seen, as Rev 174 now 10 seconds to make up to Seb Bellew and Slay in front. Seb Bellew, the man on the mission currently.
Seb's driving really well. He's had some, get caught up in a couple mix-ups and crashes, but seems like he's had some really good pace today.
Yeah, and it also seems like the undercut strategy was not the way to go, as Josh Fulton currently 5.5 seconds away from Jay and Patchy, as opposed to, I want to say, 2 or 3 seconds when he went in for his pit.
Yeah.
So I think not having to fuel for a whole extra lap did help out as far as cutting down that pit time. And these guys now have a bigger climb to go with only 11 and a half minutes remaining to do so. Over in the rookie end of things are starting to lock in place. Thorne Maddox a minute and 20 seconds ahead of the pack, and then followed by James in P2, 14 seconds separating him and T-Sid in P3. Ostrich, though, breathing down the neck of T-Sid within 2 seconds. Ricky Richmond within 4 seconds of that. Then Rick Nicholson, 2 minutes behind, followed by Llama, 20 seconds behind him, and Max Yang within 6 seconds of Llama in front. So a few battles still going on. These guys are relatively close together, but certainly starting to lock up. Speaking of lock up, though, we do see Seb Bellew and Wibba both getting opportunities on these long straightaways. We'll see who gets to make their move first. Sticking with the 7-Eleven car for just a moment. See if he can make something happen through the Feldberg, which he does. He forces that door open, and Slay holds it for him. So we'll see Seb start to get by here. We'll switch over to Wibba in the 48 car, who thankfully was waiting for us to catch up before taking any chances, but knows we're here. So we'll see what happens as they head towards Squirtier together. Actually, that's going to be Stockborn, which Wibba takes hard to the nose. That is not going to be the move he's looking for, and we'll let Fulton carry on the chase towards P4.
Josh had a little brush up against the wall there too. If Wibba, was a little bit more patient, he'd probably be ahead of him at the moment.
Yeah, they just need clean laps at this stage of the game. They just gotta wait for the guy in front to hit fatigue. Oh, and speaking of fatigue, Wibba losing now over 4 seconds on this lap, probably 5 by the end of the straightaway. We're gonna give them a little bit of time to refocus.
That is a tough spot to have a little incident there. Gonna shave quite a bit of time off the straightaway going in from with basically zero momentum after that hairpin.
Slay not really easily given the position to Seb Bellew. 0.9 seconds separating them. Oh, but the Inferno is going to get the move on Frank Mena. Frank Mena seems a little bit off the pace there as the Inferno goes flying by, heading towards the hairpin. And it'll now be Frank's turn to try and make something happen. Has to brake at the pace of the guy in front, though. Oh, and they both have matching spins, so is Frank going to go for the bump draft, or will he take the passing opportunity and try and at least lock in a top 10 finish? He's got 8 minutes remaining, so he's only got a few laps to get around. And we see him at least stick a nose through, so he's not going to be giving any help to the Inferno on this one. The Inferno is 30 seconds away from Nick Cruz and Brett Anderson, so that certainly helps, but would love a chance to make up those 23 seconds to Rev and maybe even Slay in front. Frank at least going to pull him along for the tow as the Inferno will look for one more chance. And it looks like he's not going to be playing ball either. Frank, though, closing the door real quick.
Yeah. Oh, hopping into sixth gear there. Oh, and just gets a little... Takes that corner a little too quick.
Just a bit so. Now, going to lose a lot of pace into the final section, but thankfully that was at the end of this straightaway, so don't think it'll be enough for Nick Cruz to fully close that gap just yet, but Nick is lapping with a personal best of a 4:36. The Inferno with a personal best of a 4:34. So Inferno will need to buckle down and make sure to hold on to that gap. They can relax a little bit as they've got a 2-second lead on personal bests, but not too much. I think we're in just about a good spot to play our look around the grid game. Take a look at the celeb racer up in front, the man known as Cheddar the Greatest. or Jesus
The great Ed.
himself. The great Ed. Oh, he's always
boy.
got all sorts of fun ones. And just to put it in perspective, we'll watch him disappear down the straightaway there. And we'll see what happens first. He has just disappeared around the bend. 3, 2, 1, and here comes Articulate Fox. So that is one incredible gap between them, considering Fox is lapping with a personal best of a 4:28.
And he's got 50 seconds on Patchy. That
And
is
he's
impressive.
got 50 seconds on Patchy. We're going to be sitting here for a minute, waiting for the rest of the grid to catch up. Does
Great
seem
time
like
to thank our sponsors, Only Bands, for sponsoring the event tonight. The
Yep.
leading caravan for spectators down at the Feldbergring.
Exactly. And it is a comfortable lead that these guys have, as we are just starting to see that second pack come through, or I guess we'll call it the first pack, really, as this is where we see them closest together. Seb Bellew with a crash falls down at 2 positions, loses them to Slay and Rev 174. As we see Patchy, Jay, Fulton, and Wibba all go through. We're going to grab onto Wibba this time. And we'll jump back to the other Canadian on the grid, the number 22 car. 15 seconds off his pace, so that must have been one hell of a collision that we missed there. But still doing his best to push back. He's got 6.4 seconds he needs to make up in the next 4 minutes. His personal best is only half a second faster than the guy in front, so he'll need to dig deep and really find something here.
I'm surprised 7-Eleven could scoop him up as a sponsor. You know, I heard Tim Horton had a foot in the door to get their name on that car for Seb.
I was a little surprised there was no Timmy's on that one, but that was the sponsors that the Canadian man brought to the field. I will say I am watching this battle here between Nick Cruz and Brett Anderson, only separated by 1 point right now. So Nick Cruz looking to get ahead. Fulton, I think, actually needs Nick Cruz to get ahead of Brett Anderson, and this little broadcaster's curse right here certainly does not help. Now has 8 seconds to make up with probably only 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I would say we have 2 laps left of racing tonight. Oh, and he runs a bit wide there.
Runs a touch wide, but still managing to push through. Didn't hit a wall, although not that it matters too much in this current session. Rev 174 creeping a little bit closer to Slay, made up 2 seconds in the last few minutes. So this might be our next passing opportunity, might be one of our final few passing opportunities, as we see even the main pack in the battle for P3 starting to separate a little bit, as Patchy find himself sitting in P3 for the last couple laps here. Slay managing to keep the pace, staying ahead of Rev just a little bit, but Rev with the acceleration, he's creeping forward just a 10th at a time down some of these straightaways. Where is he going to finally get to stick the nose in? At this point, I think it might be until the next straightaway. He's got to hold on to this pace he's got right here. He's nearing his qualifying time. His previous best was almost under a 4:33. So if you can creep through now, that would be huge. over a full second up on Slay's Sector 1.
Looks like he's going to get the opportunity to make a move on Slayer before they get the checker flag.
Yeah, I definitely think so. It looks like Jesus is going to cross the line, though, well over a minute. With well over a minute to go, so we're going to get one more lap. So whether or not Rev can make something happen this lap doesn't matter as much. I think Webba notices that. You see him starting to put the pressure on Josh Fulton in front now, only 1.3 seconds away. 1.2, 1.1 really creeping up as they get closer and closer to the final turn. Gonna have to check in with those guys in just a moment, but Rev is creeping closer himself. A strong turn through Stockborn could be the difference, as we've seen before. Half a second to go. Can he make this turn in his favor? He does. You can see it gaining on your live timings now. Only a few tenths away.
Oh, that was a great exit by Rev there.
Yeah, knew he needed to make something happen, and he makes it happen with ease.
See if he can line this move up.
Oh, and a little bit of
carries
contact.
too much.
He's gonna have to wait for Slay to get on before he can get moving again. Now
I think
does
that's
get
gonna be
moving, but
it.
rattles himself, and now Seb Bellew is gonna get by. They do have one more lap to do something, so maybe this little draft from Seb will get him back up to speed, and he can pull together another strong lap. But it's certainly going to take a strong effort. Speaking of strong efforts, Wibba hot on the tail of the 23 car in front. These guys not in the same class, but still in the same battle. We'll see what happens.
Real tip of the cap to Josh tonight.
Yeah, Josh is really hanging on. He's got back up to his P5 from Qual, and he is trying to make it count. Speaking of make it count, we see Rev 174 looking for the passing opportunity as Wibba takes that one a little bit rough. We saw he was with Seb. Both these guys actually have closed a tremendous amount of time to Slay. I wonder if Slay had a little run-in with the dirt, pushing a little too hard to cut to inside. Speaking of pushing too hard, Rev 174 is going to hit the curb, and that will be the end of his chase in the battle for P7. We're going to jump up to the POV of Seb Bellew.
That curb has spun a couple cars tonight. That one looked deadly.
Yeah, that I think is the one that hurts the most that we have seen. A phenomenal effort from Rev tonight. Same goes for the whole grid, but Rev really pushing hard, had a good chance at that spot. So always unfortunate to see, but still powering through in P9, staying ahead of the Inferno, Brett Anderson, and Nick Cruz, all in his class. So definitely going to help them out, help Josh out here, and maybe keep things interesting. This could be what Josh needs to lock in that P2. As we're on our final lap, I do see Nick Cruz is hustling to get across the line before Jesus can. Be honest, if you're Nick, do you think about slowing down here, or do you don't want to get lapped? You just got to send it on a course like this.
Yeah, I think you got to send it. Last race of the season, you wanna finish out your laps.
Yeah, and I guess you don't want to be the guy laughed on a 4.5 minute course.
Yeah. Yeah, but also if I'm gonna be lapped by anyone,
Jesus is the guy.
Yep.
Well, speaking of the greatest, although we might have a passing opportunity here that we can't really ignore. All right, a little bit of gap open up, but we'll check in as he crosses the line, locking in P1 with a strong celebrity appearance, the 71 car. We'll bounce back over to the action between Seb Bellew and Slay 40. The rest of the grid starting to look pretty comfortable. Keep my eyes on the gaps here, as that final turn can be the make or break of it all if anybody gets into drafting range of one another.
And Articulate Fox is going to be crossing the line now, and is our P2.
Ooh. And a little runner with the wall costs Slay 40 the position, but he stays on the gas and manages to keep pushing. A lot of track left, might be able to make that spot up depending on his exit from the final corner. Stockborn, a lot of time to be gained through here. We've seen before, but a running with the wall is going to be the end. It will take a mistake on Seb Bellew's part to give Slay an opportunity at this stage of the game. There's only one mistake left to make, and neither one of these guys makes it. So we'll bounce over to watch Patchy come across the line, followed by I Am a J, then Josh Fulton with a tremendous P5, Wibba with a great P6. And
A really commanding performance out of Fox. This
looks
is...
like they got the traditional pileup going on at the end of the grid, which these guys are eager to get to and be a part of. We've got Seb Bellew still getting hunted down by Slave 40, not giving up, only 1.5 seconds back, hoping for a little brush up with the dirt or anything from Seb, but Seb, a very experienced racer, knows that he just needs to keep it on the grid between the lines at this time. And he does a good job of doing just that. So Seb Bellew gonna lock in a great P7, followed by Slay and Rev 174 with a great race, a single running with a curb, getting him out of that three-way battle, but still able to join in on the dog pile at the end of the line as it gets bigger and bigger as more and more racers cross the grid to finish off our season 5. Frank Mena coming across to round out our top 10. A strong performance from Frank as well. We didn't see too many incidents there. Consistent lapping, has the opportunity to join the dog pile, and wiggles their way through.
Very clean.
A clean, skillful full racer from top to bottom. We jump now to the Inferno in the 77 car, crossing the line to lock in P11 ahead of Brad Anderson. Ooh, and Nick Cruz, as we see Patchy going for one strong move. Brad Anderson happy to be in front of Nick Cruz, I'm sure, but knows what seeing Josh Fulton P5 means for the day. And then we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the number 29 car, Nick Cruz, heading down the Grottenbach. A strong performance from everybody today. I'm real glad everybody seems to be staying in the grid for the most part to give Nick an opportunity to join the dog pile.
Gotta say, a very commanding race out of Articulate Fox today as he caps off to take home the championship class, or the expert championship. And Jay solidifying his, as well as Slay. Great race today. I'm really excited to see how the amateur class turns out for that P2 spot. I think Josh took it though.
I think Josh did, but we'll have to do some points calculations here in just a moment. But that wraps up season 5 of MX5, and it wraps up season 5s in general as we lock it up here in Feldbergring. That was a fun one, I gotta say.
That was.
But we'll have to do something special for the next season. And
I'm coming back, Buggy.
Mo's coming back, the big return. But well, I guess we'll see you guys there.